are your thoughts on the subject?
Okay, the good news is that there are no tar shale or gas shales under us. Okay? So we don't have to worry about it.
Right.
Some communities, probably in the past, not so much now, thought, wow, what a great idea. They take all this salty groundwater out when they do the fracking. We could pour it on our roads in the winter and melt the snow. It's brine. Well, the problem is that there's a lot more stuff in the brine besides salt and water. Okay, so beyond that, the good news is we don't have any shale under us, so it's not going to happen here. In fact, maybe up by Beaconton.
They
Okay.
did test in the Gardner area that I know of back in the 1980s.
Oh, they built some
didn't
real deep
find
wells
any,
here.
yeah.
Okay. And over there.
Well, in 2015, our quarterly water report said that we had 3 out of 4 quarterly water reports said that we had unacceptably high PCOF, I think. I couldn't find it.
What community?
In Newburgh.
The
sorry.
city of Newburgh?
City of Newburgh.
Okay.
But most recently, we've received a document that says what we have in our water now is TOC, total organic carbon. So I'm confused. Are both of these things in the water, and did they clean up one problem and now there's another problem?
I think maybe there's a chemist in the room, but I think TOC, total organic carbon, is like all those things, all those organic chemicals that have carbon in them. Am I right on that?
Yes.
I think so.
Okay, so basically they just, okay, we got dimethyl meatloaf is in there, okay, all those things. So they just put it into one package.
Dimethyl meatloaf.
Yeah. Okay, that's my favorite pollutant, dimethyl meatloaf. Okay.
You have a question?
One more, who's raising? Okay, here.
Question. Does any single-family house need a well permit to go and so on?
No, not a DEC permit for a single family house, no.
So they can just, if they don't like, say, municipal water, can they drill their own well?
If you're in a municipality that supplies water, probably not, because they want you to buy that water because they gotta pay for the fire hydrants and all that stuff.
How about a private water company? If you're part of a private water company, can you drill that well without a well permit?
You'd have to check your paperwork, because, you know, it's physically possible to drill a well. But if the question was, if you're in a private water company, can you drill your own well? Well, it depends on the paperwork. You know, if you're in a subdivision or something that said, hey, you know, everybody shares the cost, they don't want you getting off and doing your own thing, and then they got more to pay, right? And like the village of Harriman, there was a merchant wanted to drill a well, but the village wouldn't let him because, hey, we're supplying you water, and we're also supplying you fire protection, and you know you should be paying all of that, and sewage protection, sewage service. So we can't let you just choose your own water and then get the benefit of those other things without having to pay for the water.
Does rationing apply if you have your own well? Or that's only for city?
Does rationing apply if you have your own well? The answer is no.
Okay. Don't have that odd even stuff, it's only for people
It's only for the people that get municipal supplies.
Yeah. But you may have a fight on your neighbors.
Yeah, okay. You might have a fight with your neighbors.
Okay,
Okay,
might run out
can
of
we
water.
talk a little bit about
Think
groundwater?
about it on unlimited.
I apologize, I'm sorry, but my little webcam is not great resolution, but hopefully you'll be able to see a lot of stuff. And I have a laser pointer. There it is. And I make it bigger. Can you see that laser pointer there?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, here's my well. You folks up front, you're lucky. If anybody else wants to slide up and see this, it's a lot cooler than.
Just don't shine the laser in our eyes.
Just don't turn the laser on. Sorry, I'll keep it down by my side. Okay. Right now, my aquifer is in static mode. See the water in the river right there? Let me put a little blue there. You can just see it. Okay, there's the river. You see the blue in my wells right here? So my water table is flat. Nothing's moving. Groundwater moves from high pressure to low pressure. Right now it's not moving. Now, I'm going to turn on my magic pump. Figure out where the wire went. Okay. We'll prime the pump and we'll recharge the aquifer. Think of this as rain. So my aquarium pump is filling up with water, and it's going to send the water right here to my recharge area, right there. Then the water is going to go into my model, and the color is going to start going up. So come on, baby. I'm always amazed at priming pumps. It's so cool. Okay, there it goes. Okay, so the water is coming up. Let me put some more color in right here. And watch the lake. Okay, we'll put a little color in the lake. Just so when it does start. Surface water and groundwater are the same thing, they're just in a different place. Okay, so there's a connection, and you'll see it all through. There's a connection between the surface water. See my color going up? Right there? See it going up? We see, oh boy, it'll slow here. Now it's coming. See this? See the water spreading? So the groundwater is recharging the lake. It's August. It's hot. It's been dry. But there's still water in the stream. It's the groundwater recharging. It's coming out of the ground and recharging the stream. Macroinvertebrates, algae, diatoms all live in those rocks. And without that water, the whole bottom of the food chain is gone. So it's very important that this groundwater can interconnect and recharge the lake. And already you see the color is moving across my model, and my river is now blue. See that? And see this here. Okay, let's look now at that bedrock aquifer. Remember we were talking about the iced tea, and the tea is in the spaces between the ice cubes. It's not in the ice cubes. Okay, if I take some red right here, I'm going to put it in this very deep well right over here. You got to watch closely. Watch the red. See it?
Oh, wow.
Okay, who was talking about caves and caverns? Somebody asked a question about caves and caverns around here. See it move?
No, there was caverns before that. That was towards the very beginning of the talk.
Very beginning. This is if we lived in the Ozarks or up by Utica where they got Howe Caverns. Where you got a cavern, you know, as big as this room or as big as that door, and the water travels and it travels quick. And if you pollute this upstream and it travels through there, it can move miles and miles and downstream very quickly. That's not here.
Is that karst?
That would be karst. But this would be karst. There's a little bit of karst in southern black dirt area. In the Wallkill.
Town of Marbletown in Ulster County.
Marbletown, very good.
Marbletown.
Okay, a lot of limestone. Marble is basically metamorphic limestone. Okay, but they move fast, and you can see it's in the fractures. Allen's well over in the town of Crawford, down 300 feet. His driller probably got lucky, and he intersected a couple of fractures. The water comes out of the fracture, it fills your well, and you got water to drink. Who else has got a bedrock well on a private property? Who had the 120? You had the 100,
I think we both do.
Okay,
In
you're
different
probably
places.
in bedrock. And the reason, manganese is real common, iron is real common, sulfur is real common, hardness is real common. They're just part of the landscape, part of the geology. You filter them out. I mean, people pay extra for iron in their in their medicines. Manganese, I'm not so sure, it's not so great for your laundry. Sulfur, you go to Ballston Spa or Saratoga Springs, right? They love the sulfur up there. Hardness, just because there's a lot of calcium carbonate down there in those layers, and it gets into the water. Okay, so we saw how fast it can move. Groundwater doesn't move very fast, certainly not that fast, except for in karst situations. If it goes a couple of inches a day, that's really fast. It's usually fractions of a fraction of an inch per day that the water moves. But there's a lot of it. So you can pump and pump and pump, and it just moves along because there's so much of it. You know, in a gravel layer like that, 40% of that layer is open space. That's where the water is. That's kind of like the permeability. The water can move through those spaces. If it's gravel, picture 3 of these tables, giant box, full of bowling balls. You couldn't get your hand in between the bowling balls. Same box, full of ping pong balls, you couldn't even get a finger between the ping pong balls. Bowling balls are gravel, ping pong balls are sand. So the water's going to move quicker in the gravel because it's more permeable and less quickly in the sand. Okay, let's put some color in here and we'll do a little green. Now in my little model here I have a septic system. Now it's got a clay layer underneath, very poor design. Can't have clay under your septic system because then the pollution doesn't go down into the ground very well. Okay, so I put some green in my septic system and look at already. I polluted my river. Who lives in Greenwood Lake? Anybody? Okay, Greenwood Lake is like a fjord almost, right? Steep sides, rocky, really poorly constructed septic systems. And when you flush your toilet, the waste that goes down has got a lot of phosphorus in it and a lot of nitrogen in it. And the nitrogen can be broken down by the bacteria. The phosphorus kind of gets into the system and it gets into the lake, and it's fertilizer. So we've heard the term eutrophication. Basically, the fertilizer makes the plants grow, then they die. And as they're dying, they use up more oxygen, and they steal it away from the fish and the other plants, and the body of water dies, or chokes, anyway. So they have a big program to try to reduce the phosphorus runoff in Greenwood Lake, and pick a resort lake anywhere.
What about Orange Lake?
Orange Lake.
Orange Lake, I wouldn't doubt it. But unless, I used to do some work up in Bethel, and they have a lake up there, White Lake. They got really smart they put a sewer system around about 2/3 of the lake. Took all that waste that would have gone into septic systems away from the lake. And they saved their tourist industry, big time. Okay? But you saw that, because this clay layer right here, sorry I can't read it, prevented the pollution from going down. It went across and polluted there. Look at this other one though. I put the green in my leaky underground storage tank. Let me do it again because I'm green, there's green.
You just lost your picture.
There you go.
Picture gone.
Okay. You're paying attention to me? Come on. There. There. Okay, see the green here? This is the green I just put in. It actually went down. See, it's working its way down?
Yeah.
And it's going to work its way across. Path of least resistance, right? Ping pong balls, bowling balls. The water can move quickly through here. See it moving down? So it's actually saying, hey, I'm in the sand, but I really want to be in the gravel. I'm just going to take the straightest path I can to the gravel and then move fast. because this water's really traveling. This water up here is not moving so fast, so it's probably just kind of waiting to get in the fast lane over here. Okay? See this clay layer here?
Yeah.
They call that an aquitard, confining layer. No color down here. So who asked about multiple layers? Oh, see? I got some bedrock here, and I got some gravel here, and I got a clay layer, and then another gravel. Who's from Long Island? Half of you? Only 4 of you? Come on, 5. Okay, you can admit it. It's okay. Okay, 5 aquifers in Long Island. The bedrock connects to Connecticut. It slopes down. The rest of them are left over from the glacier. The glacier deposited Long Island for us. Much to our chagrin, probably. Anyway, and there's a bunch of gravel and sand and clay and gravel and sand and clay and so on, 5 times. And they've managed to pollute the top ones, and they're working their way down. They didn't work. They're down in the deepest one now, and they're probably into the bedrock now, too. But once you get into the bedrock, your well yield, 7 million gallons a day, which is pretty good, very good, in fact. There's only one well I know of in the county that's better, and that's the Village of Warwick. They got what they call a caisson well. I mean, you think a well is okay, it's like this big around. This one's like a concrete pipe sections with slots in it. That much water in the Warwick down there. Okay. It's right. This aquifer right here. You can see that one right. Is that right? Warwick. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Where was it? Okay, so see, this confining, this aquitard prevents the pollution from traveling between aquifers. So they go deeper in Long Island or here and get clean water because the clay's protecting it. Question about the black dirt and the acidic water getting down into it. It's 60 feet thick, so in most places it's just not going to go in. If you're near the edges, it could go in and get into that aquifer. But then it would be diluted so much it probably wouldn't make a whole bunch of difference. Okay, let's look at.
A question.
I'm sorry.
So, we live in Wappingers, and on a 1 acre property, you could put your septic tank and a well. How does the purification work in terms of what starts out as pollution in your septic system becoming drinkable somewhere else after going through sand and filtering and what have you? Does it work, I guess, is the first question.
Well, if you have a well and a septic system, there are rules that the health department enforces that basically say they have to be at least 100 feet apart, I believe.
Right.
And they would prefer if the...
It's further to your neighbor than to your own.
Okay, well, okay. So a bigger lot's much better, right? An acre lot, you're kind of pushing it.
Yeah.
Okay, because you got, not only you got to worry about your well and your septic, you got to worry about the neighbor's well and neighbor's septic on both sides. Anyway, but the point is that you want to keep the well and the septic as far apart as possible. The second thing you want to do is you want to have a well-constructed well, okay? So, who knows what bentonite is?
What is that?
Clay.
Bentonite is a clay, an expansive clay. So when they drill a well, they put a casing down
Do we know?
into bedrock.
Right.
They drill the bedrock out and they jam this casing down in there, and then they put bentonite pellets. They're an expansive clay, and they drop them all around what they call the annular space around the outside of the well casing and seal that up so that the birds and the deer and the bees and everybody else that poops on your lawn doesn't get in there, okay? So that's the second thing. You build a good well. Third thing is you put the well in deep enough that the screen where it's drawing the water out has got a lot of vertical space and horizontal space from the septic system. Okay? There are some places around here in Orange County that still have dug wells. Scary. Okay, because, well, if you look, see my model, stuff travels. Okay? Chris?
Yeah, this one's gonna be one that you love, Jay. Let's do the opposite of the very first demonstration you did. You recharge groundwater and the wells, and that recharged the lake or the river.
Right.
That would imply that if you were not recharging the groundwater, or as a matter of fact, if you were withdrawing groundwater out of it, the lake level, or for that matter, stream or creek level would go down. Okay. Okay,
Watch it.
now, here's my question. We have a potential for that happening without question. And it could possibly happen in one of your favorite tributaries, Moody, and also the Woodbury Creek.
Mm-hmm.
So my question to you is, now you said earlier that you can drill into an aquifer as long as you don't affect somebody else's municipal or private aquifer. My question comes down to, is the DEC currently monitoring the Woodbury Creek and the Moodna Creek for what its runoff is right now? So that should we start drawing water out of those wells, specifically Mountainville, that they would know that it's affecting another municipality and aquifer and so on like that?
The answer is I don't know if they are monitoring it. I know that the part of the permit, we're talking about, I'm sorry, let's go back a step. Curious Joel drilled a big well, and they're gonna drill another one, right on the border of Woodbury and Cornwall, right there. And you see the red? You see the red right there from across the room? Right in that area. They drilled a well, and they pump tested it, and it's got 700 gallons a minute. 7 million, now I'm thinking more and more. 700 gallons a minute is like 700,000 a day.
Right.
7 million is not possible. 700,000 might be better. Okay, so Chris is asking, what happens if, see the water went down? What happens if it's August and there's hardly any flow in the Woodbury Creek? And then they're still pumping 700,000 gallons of water a day. What happens to the creek and the macroinvertebrates and the diatoms and the algae and all that? And is the DEC doing? All I know on that, the answer to that is that there is a clause in the permit that says Curious Joel's consultants have to come up with a plan to monitor the creek, and that satisfies the DEC and me, frankly, because I'll be really mad if it doesn't. But I have no power. That says, okay, at some point we're going to say turn off the wells because the water's only this high.
So that's the fox watching the hen house then? Is that what that is? Yeah. Sure is.
Okay, probably pretty good. Let me get this lady first and then you.
I'm sorry, I have a really elementary question.
Elementary, okay.
Very elementary. So, I do not understand how you extract the water from what is essentially solid matter. Whether out of the sand or out of the pebbles, what are you actually doing with the pump?
Okay.
How is it pulling the water up out of the sand?
Remember my analogy about the glass of iced tea?
Okay.
Okay, you have a glass of ice water there, perhaps?
Well, no.
Okay,
ice, but-
say you had ice in the water and you took a drink.
Right.
The water would not be coming out of the ice. It would be coming out of the spaces between the ice cubes, right? The ice is in your...
Yeah, see, that's not
Okay,
helping.
so the water is... If you go to the beach
Yeah.
and you walk close to the water and you dig a little hole, there's water and there's sand all mixed up in there, right? Yeah. And it's kind of soupy. And if you get a little further away from the ocean, the sand is still wet. It's wet, but it's not soupy. Then you go up further and it's dry. Okay, so the water is in the spaces between the sand particles.
No, I totally understand that.
Okay,
I totally get that.
Okay.
That part is not difficult. What I don't get is how you're, I mean, I understand effectively you're using suction to pull the water out of the sand?
Uh-huh. So you put a screen in the place, and the screen's got little slots in it. The slots are big enough to let the water through, but they won't let the sand through. It's like a filter. It's like a coffee filter.
Think of the straw in the ice water.
Straw in the ice,
And
and
just
it's
suck
got
it
a
up.
little slots at the bottom, and it draws the water into the slots, but it keeps the sand out. Okay, you got that? Okay, yes, sir.
I just wanted to,
Oh, okay, I see, did you actually drill I get it, okay. I'm done, I got it.
This is good. You should ask those questions. Don't be afraid. Elementary is good. Wow. Okay, I got this guy, and then you, and then you, and then you. Okay, actually, you were first. You should go first.
I just wanted to, 14 years ago, we were looking for a house in southern Ulster, which is clay soil. And the new houses are up like on a plateau. So I asked what's going on here, and so it turns out, I guess they drained the proper soil for the septic system.
Right.
And the house is up there, and then they have their septic. Now, the house we bought doesn't have probably have a lousy septic system, because back then in the town, there were no regulations, I suppose. But, so that, I don't know, they do that in Orange County as well, so you have a proper trickling.
Right. That's right. That's this. Remember I put this says clay layer right there. So most septic systems, there's enough soil. How a septic system works is that they have a tank, and you flush, and everything goes in the tank. The solids stay in the tank, but the liquids go up, and they go out the other side. Okay? The liquids then go into a fork-shaped tile field, or slotted pipe field. It's got a distribution box and a bunch of laterals, and the water goes through these pipes, and it goes out into the trench that's been dug with the pipe in it. And the trench is full of gravel.
And it's close to the surface still.
It's about 3 feet down. Okay. The layer where the gravel meets the dirt is where most of the treatment happens. Remember I told you that when you flush, you got phosphorus and nitrogen. Bacteria love that stuff. It comes out of the water, goes into that trench, and that biofilm forms right on the top of the dirt where the gravel meets the dirt, and a little bit probably on all the gravel. So all that biofilm is eating all those nutrients that you flush down the toilet. And that's how it works. And as long as you don't overload it, and as long as your soil isn't too clay, because if it's too clay, then the water doesn't soak in and get past the biofilm. It just floods the trench, and then you gotta fix it or do something illegal. My wife's got a horror story, but I won't get into that. Okay.
I just have.
Okay, wait a minute. I still got a guy back there that's been waving his hand at me for a while.
Okay, is the aquifer good to tap into for geothermal, heating and cooling?
No, not around here. If you were in Iceland, where they got a lot of volcanic action, you got a lot of heat, you can get hot water. If there are, up at Mohawk Mountain House, they built a whole brand new spa, about, what, 5, 6, 7 years ago?
Yeah.
They drilled 60 wells. And each one of those wells has a continuous pipe that goes down, turns the corner, comes back up. And it's got antifreeze or something in it. And the water goes down, it gets cooled, and it comes back up, and it takes the heat out of the air conditioner. Or in the winter, it goes down and gets warmed up, same temperature, it takes the cold out of the heater. Okay? So you can get geothermal that way, but volcanic stuff, we don't have any of that. Okay. Okay, you, and then you.
Comment on the Mountainville wells, you said KJ is drawn down.
Yeah.
The village of Cornwall, that's one of their primary supplies out of that same aqueduct. You're saying they're gonna be taking 700,000 perhaps a day out of it.
Let's do a little, size. 700,000 gallons a day is not a lot of water. 700,000 gallons a day, well, in streams, we talk about cubic feet per second. 1 cubic foot, I think I got this right, is 1.5 million gallons a day.